Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host this evening, where we will be reviewing The Conjuring: The Devil Made Me Do It. What a title! Joining me tonight, first up, the witchiest witch of Bloody Good Horror. Please welcome Cece to the show.
Hello.
She's got a fun little Cece's life Easter egg for y'all later, but we'll have to wait to get to that. Next up on the show from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
And last up tonight from New York City. Where are you? You're in Maryland right now. You're going to be back in New York. It's a whole thing. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
Yes, Eric.
John, you finally did it. You pulled your hair back for the show. Congratulations on your man bun. I like it.
I don't know when it qualifies as a man
It's
bun
more like a
versus
man.
just like...
It's more like a man messy ponytail kind of situation.
Well, so my wife has told me I'm not allowed to do a ponytail where it's like it hangs. So I like
this.
I do. Yeah, well, exactly.
Tuck it.
I do the double wrap and then I tuck it. So like, is that a bun? I don't know. What qualifies?
You're
as a bun?
halfway there, buddy.
I mean, I would say that it's a bun.
Then it's a man bun. Yeah.
I love it.
If it's a bun, Cece, it's a man bun. We gotta get it.
Excuse me, yes.
You look like you're about to sell me, like you're like a Scandinavian business consultant. Like you're about to sell me on some kind of like Scandinavian, like just plan for my business.
Are you interested? Because we could get into this.
That, or you're like a Jehovah's Witness, like with that shirt. You a little bit look like you're going to show up on somebody's doorstep with a pamphlet, kind of.
It's actually like sky blue, not
Yeah.
They wear white usually.
Well, John, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. I really like this title. I like titles that treat me like I am just the dumbest person imaginable. That's my favorite kind of title.
Eric, can I ask you a Conjuring trivia question?
Please.
Which, and hopefully you didn't see this, or and anyone, Cece or Casey can guess. Which installment in the Conjuring universe is this, number-wise?
3? Is this 3?
It's the third in the Conjuring series, but in what is called, what we've affectionately dubbed the Wanaverse, this is the Xth film.
13th.
Oh, no idea.
I should say.
No,
it's not that many, but
I mean, listen, John, you bring up a good point. It's a good time to point out that when you hear people out there, John, in the Twitterverse calling it the Wanaverse, that was us. Like a decade ago, bro. We started it.
We've been on the Wanaverse for a while.
Yeah.
No, well, and this isn't when I say Conjuring universe, like they are treating this as like an MCU, like we're building a universe situation with the whole like Ed and Lorraine's cabinet of curiosities.
Here's what I remember about The Conjuring. Yeah. The hands clap next to Vera Farmiga's head. That was in the trailer for the first one, right? Was the second one set in the UK? Was that a Conjuring movie? Okay, and that one's got the weird, creepy dude in the hallway that comes out of a toy or something.
The Crooked Man, right?
I think they're making it. I think they're spinning off.
I think so.
It is. That is the next film to come. Is called The Crooked Man.
Ah, because the nun.
It's the
nun came from these two, right?
Yeah. So this is the 8th film in the series.
Are you sure that's it? Because are you counting Insidious, Annabelle, and these?
No. So Insidious is not technically related. I mean, Patrick Wilson's in both of those movies.
Oh, right.
As
so
a different character.
So we're talking about Conjuring. Yeah, no, but when I say Wanaverse, I include Insidious.
Totally. Wanaverse is different from Conjuring universe, but in what Wikipedia has a page on the Conjuring universe, and they call this the 8th film.
Got it.
It's Conjuring, Annabelle, Conjuring 2, Annabelle 2, The Nun.
Just imagine, John, all these movies for two people that I saw in documentary footage have a chicken in their kitchen, or had a chicken in their kitchen. Yeah, just in a cage, just in the middle of their kitchen. like two normal functioning,
Wow.
mentally stable adults have a chicken in
Yeah.
their kitchen.
2 adults in a kitchen that may or may not contain chicken.
Yeah. And according to John's research, maybe also a 15-year-old girl that Ed Warren took on as a lover.
That was
Cece's
Cece's research.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's
How
Cece's
dare
research. Just normal cool people, John, that we want to make movies about.
you?
I have so much to say. So much to say. Let's get right into it, I guess, guys. Let's take a quick break and discuss The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. From the prime time. Main feature.
You know what's interesting? The 8th film in the Conjuring universe, there are 8 words in The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It.
Oh my God.
Wait, are you?
Not
is
to
there
go
really-
all Alex Jones on you here, but I'm just saying, connect the dots, people.
There is.
Connect the dots.
Wow. Seems like less than that. Okay. I thought you were counting the colon for a second.
Here, there's part of me, John, that really wants to. There's kind of like this. You're not on Twitter, so you wouldn't see this, but anytime these movies come out, there's definitely like this debate we were kind of having, not debate, but this discussion we're having pre-show about the Warrens as human beings and like the merit of giving, paying credence to that while still just trying to just enjoy a horror movie. And part of me kind of feels like with all of this, it's 2021. Like, we know too much. If you had showed me these movies in 1983 or something, well, first of all, I would have been 1 years old. That wouldn't really matter. Let's say 1990. And, no internet to go look it up. Cool. I'll just enjoy this for what it is. But like, we can't go back, people. The shroud has been lifted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can't as a horror community pretend to have all of these socially conscious discussions and then be like, well, whatever. The Warrens are fine. The movies are entertaining. Like, I don't think you can separate them. In my opinion.
Well, and they're getting paid, or Lorraine is, because Ed's dead,
Lorraine
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
I mean, we don't know. Maybe they're not getting paid that much.
it's all
but they're
going. It's
getting
all
paid
going
some.
to the chicken.
Oh, she made sure they're getting paid a lot. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, and she's definitely able to like monetize. Like she can like show up at cons and be like,
What, Cece?
Yeah.
Meet the real Lorraine
Cece,
Warren.
tell the audience here what you were telling us before show, just about the contracts, because I thought that was interesting.
So there is a Hollywood Reporter article that came out.
Was it for this movie or was it for one of the earlier ones? That's what I was
No,
curious.
it was for an earlier one because this came out December 13th of 2017. So basically, like, it's talking about how the Conjuring franchise does a lot to really focus on the love and, faith-based, just, love conquers all type of
Faith
true story.
/ gazebo based love.
Yes, of Ed and Lorraine Warren. Which, like, I mean, we get, like, I mean, I understand that movies can take liberties, but it's really, I feel like it's more than a liberty because studio executives were made aware just after the first opening in 2013 that there were allegations that Ed initiated a relationship with an underage girl of 15 with Lorraine's knowledge and essentially continued this relationship for like 30 or 40 years. Ended up having, getting this woman pregnant, this girl who became a woman under this this quote unquote relationship.
Good luck
Essentially
parsing
groomed
that
this
out.
girl. And then Lorraine made her have an abortion, and
That seems like
basically,
a
like they've
godly thing to do.
what?
That seems like a godly thing to do.
Yes. So, basically, even though, even in the 60s and 70s, like a teenage girl moving in with a married man, like attracted attention, and they tried to, tried to push it off as like she was a niece or that she was like, a poorly girl that they've like taken in under charity. And they tried, like,
Still
the police
weird,
tried to pursue
even
her.
if she's poor.
Super,
Yeah.
super weird, even if she was, somebody they took in during charity. But anyway, Lorraine made sure that to have their, the rights for this, these based on a true story movies, that they only focused on the, true love between Lorraine and Ed, and would never mention this other woman, Penny, or this girl who became a woman, Penny. And, that's why you have such a focus and, importance directed at how, their love is what can overcome these.
I also personally, and we'll get into it, like how, I mean, it's relevant for starters because, as we'll discuss here shortly, it's very much at the heart of this movie. But also, like, I can't personally separate it when you are shoving the true story thing so far down my throat. Like, it's just, it's almost fourth kind levels in the beginning of this movie of like, based on a true real story that really happened.
Plus, the name of the title of this movie came from Ed's first excuse to Lorraine back when that whole relationship started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The patience Casey just showed to get that zinger in. I really appreciate it. I like it, Casey.
Solid.
All right, John Schnorrs, please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word is coat. That is C-O-T-E, coat. Anybody familiar with this one? No. This was a new word for me. That's why I was excited. It's a synonym for kennel. It's a shelter for mammals or birds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Used most often when you're talking about like the little like a pigeon hut. If you want to be proper about it, you would call it a coat. So that comes to us from the Old English. They think it's a shortened version of the word cottage, of Germanic origin.
Oh, Germanic, John, you're familiar. And what does that have to do with this movie?
So, I guess let's try to. I mean, the basic plot here is pretty straightforward, and I think as we've already started, the more interesting things to talk about are the like kind of surrounding elements of this. So the story at the center of The Devil Made Me Do It is a murder wherein a young man, he's like 20, something like that, becomes possessed. We can talk about how he basically invites a demon into him as part of an exorcism for his girlfriend's younger brother. The younger brother is like 8. This 20-year-old's like helping with the exorcism, invites the demon into him. The demon goes into him. And then after the demon goes into him, he kills this guy who they are living with. Now, this guy is like, the guy he kills, not a super sympathetic murder victim. He's running a kennel where they are like living above the kennel, and he and his girlfriend like help run the place. And this guy like doesn't seem to like animals. I don't know. That was my takeaway. Was also a drunk. Like, it was just like very not a good situation. But he kills this guy. And this case becomes famous, at least like if you believe the film. And I didn't like research this case in real life that much or anything, but because he actually used an affirmative defense. So an affirmative defense is usually like self-defense, like, I killed this guy, but I had to because I was defending myself. He uses the affirmative defense of he was possessed by the devil. And so, yes, he killed this guy, but, the devil made him do it. Ed and Lorraine get involved, and they investigate, and they discover that he really was possessed by the devil. But spoiler alert, he still goes to prison. So
I really love the
who
scene.
really wins?
I really love the scenes with the I guess it was the defense attorney or something, like trying to get the Warrens to like convince her that she should bring this case and say like that he's not guilty because the devil made him do it, and they're just like, well, God though, and she's like, oh, okay, that's not really how this works. Okay, very funny. All right,
yeah, it's good.
The devil made me do it. Cece, what do you think of this movie?
I mean, I didn't like it. I think that it is hard for me to separate the Warren, like what I know about the Warrens and their movies. But I liked the first Conjuring. The second one I really wasn't that into, and then this one, I don't know, like it seemed to be very flat, and I'm not sure what it was. It could have just been me, but I don't know, like even the jump scares and everything that we've just seen better exorcism movies, I guess, is what it boils down to for me. And I felt like, if you're going to go down that route, you have to do it at least as good as other movies have done, and it just didn't do that for me. It's also very hard. I'm realizing that as more and more movies are being made in Georgia, that it's extremely difficult for me to remove myself from places that I know. And
I love it.
The priest's house that they go to, and basically where all of like the tunnels that the
it's where the demons live.
Yeah, where the demons live. I had my senior pictures taken at that mill, so it's really hard to be like, oh, this is super spooky, because it's not like.
So I wanted to ask about that. Like, was it like a known place that, like, was it like special to you, or was it like a place that other people went to get their pictures?
No, I mean, this is like people go and picnic there all the time. Like, this is a very popular, like, and it's not hidden away. Like, you literally turn off of a highway onto another like main road, and you pass it going to our high school.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's visible from the road. So it's not like hidden away. It's not like a little like, oh, this is a cute, quaint little thing that you have to drive through. No, like, gem. No, not at all.
This is, well, and I forgot, I didn't mention when I was talking about the story, but it's supposed to take place in New England. So they because the Warrens, I think, are from Massachusetts, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Eric is my local Massachusetts,
northern, but yeah.
I don't know, John. I'm not sure.
There's probably like a Warrens museum you could visit.
Cool.
I thought at one point you could visit their house. I don't know that you can still do that, but you could at one point, because they would let you visit their like collection of haunted things.
Yeah,
but
it was New England. It's in 1952. The Warrens founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I like Patrick Wilson and Vera, from whatever her last name is. Yes. So it's not. I think I went in already kind of biased towards this movie, and it just didn't really do anything to help itself outside of that for me.
Casey.
First off, that noise was my arm on my desk. It was not me elsewhere. I've never been super big on the Conjuring movies in the past. The first two, they were okay, and too many jump scares and stuff like that. This movie I didn't have a whole lot of expectations, and it lived up to those limited expectations. It's just a movie. It's kind of a bog standard possession movie that they just kind of tried to change things up a little bit and change the order around a little bit. And it's not to say the movie's terrible. It's watchable. And like Cece said, Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, they're awesome. It's hard for me to separate from the real life Warrens too, so it takes some out of it. I would say though, in this particular movie, I would give them kudos for trying to back away some from the constant jump scares that the first two movies are known from. It felt like they tried to back away from that a little bit, give us a little bit more meat to the story, and they kind of made more characters, I think, out of the Warrens than trying to keep them as just the real life Warrens. Even though they had that true story disclaimer at the beginning, it felt like they kind of stepped away from that a little bit, but it really felt kind of flat. There's just not a whole lot of excitement to it for me.
John.
I hated this movie. I actually hate it more the more I have to think about it. And here's the thing. I don't give a shit about the Warrens. I don't think about them. I didn't know anything about them before these movies came out. I've not like read too much about them, although like maybe I should. I don't know. Like maybe, but like this movie, it has so many issues. Mostly, I would say it is like the way that it's structured. I mean, so Casey, you said it is a very straightforward possession film. Like the case at the center of this thing, if told just like in chronological order, it would be the most boring goddamn movie on the planet. Like nothing happens. This kid goes to prison. He sits in prison. They have this like scene that they they clearly invented. Like it wasn't like this really happened, where he's like in the like prison infirmary and getting basically exercised by like the prison priest just happens to like know how to like deliver exercise. I don't know.
Don't forget they let his girlfriend in too.
Yeah, well, and his
Exactly.
girlfriend just could like hang with him whenever she wanted. I mean, like there's a lot of those kinds of, they have to construct these dramatic moments because there's just not natural drama to the story. The other way they try to imbue this film with drama is via the Warrens and their relationship. And so like with the added context of what Cece was talking about, which I had no idea about before we got on the call today, it's like even more absurd because like it doesn't even feel that real in the movie. And I think I would put it less on the actors than on the scripting. Like just asking us to care so much about their marriage and their relationship. And it just never really feels earned. And it's important because the climax of the film is basically Patrick Wilson, Ed, becoming possessed with the demon and attacking Lorraine. And like us caring that he like maybe he's going to kill her, although he's obviously not going to because it's a goddamn movie about their relationship. But so the whole thing, it's just this, I would say this uniquely among the three, at least if we're just talking about the Conjuring films, it's just really poorly constructed narratively. I do think, and I was looking, I should have mentioned at the top, this is directed by this guy, Michael Chavez. We know him because he directed Curse of La Llorona, which is the 6th film in the Conjuring universe, the Conjureverse. I don't know. Can I test drive that one right now?
I guess.
False.
But so he directed Curse of La Llorona, which was not a great movie, but did have, similar to like Casey, the way you described this, like I would say it had some jump scares, but that was another one that like they really were trying to make like an atmospheric, spooky horror movie. He's not a bad director. Like he has like a flair for at least the sort of cinematography elements that should make this, more than it is. It's just not enough. And like, I don't know, there just weren't enough scary moments. And then I don't know, now I'm just kind of like ranting, but like we should talk about some of the scary moments. Like there's like this corpse dude, like this like overweight naked corpse man that like we're supposed to be like scared of. And it's,
what the
used
corpse is like?
multiple
It's like
times.
do you remember those really cheap RC cars when we were kids on a cord that only went forward?
Yeah.
That's what it's
Yeah.
like. That's all he does. He can't turn. Like he just
No.
runs and they move out of the way and he falls. Like that's basically.
And
all
he
that happens.
stands and stares at them.
And it happens
for
more than
like
once.
2 minutes before he runs. Like
It
it's
just
dumb
reminded
as-
me of one of the characters from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Like
Yes, he did. Yes.
just like the like a bloated version of
Yeah.
that.
Well, with less,
don't know.
I think there was more peen visible in
Well,
this.
okay,
film.
So
I think Colleen found the naked fat man with the long greasy hair kind of triggering.
this movie is kind of interesting. There's just a lot. There's just a lot to unpack. I'll start with things I liked. I think to John's point, I found this movie starts out with an exorcism that I can only describe as like a WWE match. It's like
Yes.
this 8-year-old kid is possessed and kicking the ever-loving shit out of everybody in this room. Like
Mhm.
dishes are flying and knocking the priest out. He's like stabbing people viscerally. And it's just so funny. Well, if you remember, John, like early on when they started cranking out sequels to these, you were the one who would say like, the problem with a ghost movie like this is that at some point there isn't like a physical threat. Yeah, the non-corporeal or like corporeal threat is the word that you use. That I'm not going to pretend.
I love that you.
I'm not going to
pulled that
pretend
out.
like I
That's
was
nice.
smart enough to use that word, but it's interesting. So what's happened is they kind of caught on to that, and as they kept making movies, and it's like we're getting scare inflation now, which is
Yeah.
at least entertaining. I will say that. Like that did that.
Well, yeah.
I will go to bat for the exorcism scene that starts this movie while also acknowledging it's kind of absurd. Like you kind of have to say both things.
I want to come
Yeah.
back to
Sure.
it because I will take the opposite side of this argument in that I think it is. We've gotten to the point where these are basically like action movies, and it's
Kind
fucking
of, a
ridiculous.
little
But
bit,
sorry,
yeah.
continue.
I think that of a lot of these Waniverse movies, definitely, like I really haven't liked the Annabelle movies almost at all. You know, this is visually, I think, stronger than a lot of these movies. Like I think there are some pretty, maybe inspired is too strong, but just some like pretty strong spooky visuals in this movie, and like sequences, like the whole sequence where he stabs the dude, like the murder scene itself, I think is really well done, where he's basically seeing things that aren't happening. It's pretty tense. My issue was like, I liked those kids, those characters. I liked that weird, just like non-traditional setting of their living together in this weird 70s or 80s, like, dog shelter thing or whatever. It's just, that's different. Like I enjoyed that. The problem is that like, that's not really what the movie's about. And the pacing and the structure are a hot ass mess. Like you see like a whole movie almost in the first 25 minutes, and it's all about these kids and like this thing. Although I think
It's basically a Law and Order
like
episode.
sped up. Yeah.
Oh my
But
God.
then once that ends, the movie, and this is, man, I talk about this. This is a big pet peeve of mine. It's like a thing that people try to do. Like, I guess you'd call it like a non-traditional narrative kind of thing, where where your first act is almost this encapsulated thing, and then you shift gears into something else. It drives me crazy because I just have a lot of problem like reorienting myself. And the problem here is that what we're reorienting to is this just silly, I think, love story about the Warrens. I'm trying my best here to separate my feelings on the Warrens. It's fine.
Sure.
But
Well, and the love story, by the way, is not a love story. It's just
No.
about the time they met.
they met
like,
and kissed at a gazebo, and now
Yeah.
they're married. And it's like,
that's too, like, I'm glad you're bringing that up, because it's not, you can separate the Warrens from this movie, but if you're going to make me focus on the love story or this great marriage, like that's a very flat, like, explanation or description of it.
agreed.
Yeah.
And I also think that, like, yes, like Vera Farmiga and handsome McChin there. What's his name?
Patrick Wilson.
Patrick Wilson.
I believe he's referred
You
to
know,
as a scream hunk. I heard someone use
Yes,
that
they're
term.
good actors. I think she's probably in a league above him. But like, these characters are so silly, and I think the thing to me is like, they are overly like earnest and self-serious to the point of kind of being like parodies and like very maudlin. It's like there is not a single ounce of humility, of humor, of irony. Like, I don't need them to be cracking jokes, but show me that you're a human and not just a person drinking your own Jesus Kool-Aid. Like, in particular, this whole thread about like, they really, John, you said over email, it's like they've become Marvel characters with their superpowers. Vera Farmiga is like straight, almost feral at points in this movie. Her ass is just running through the woods, following her visions. He's just running behind her, trying to like pick up everything that's falling, and like, it's so ridiculous. I don't know what other word to like describe it. Man, like, you know, we're saying here, I think we're like giving the film too much credit by saying, oh, they're really fleshing the Warrens out here. Like, not really in the way that I would, not in the way that you think of fleshing out characters as making them three-dimensional and complicated. You know what I mean? It's just really, really what it is. We're just getting more of them, more of the same kind of surface BS that we've gotten here. So the shift back to the Warrens really just does a number on the pacing. I think it takes the film away from what's most interesting. It doesn't help that. What I will say is that I loved this whoever this dark priestess lady is. Like, I want to know more about her as an actress, because I really, even in the midst of all this other stuff going on, this lady freaking brings it, man. Like, she is.
So Eric, I think it's the same actress who plays the nun, like the creepy, scary nun.
I don't
think it is.
No, I don't think that's true.
I'm looking. She's in this movie, unless she's just like Maybe she was just in there as the nun.
No, I think there's
in
a
that
flash.
picture that they
Isn't there a
showed?
flash or something?
Yeah, there was a
Anyway,
flash of the
I
nun.
love this lady. I love her whole dark priestess shtick. I like visually, like I actually only because I think it picks up the pace of the movie. I like this whole thread about, you know, Lorraine Warren sort of like astrally projects to like see things that are happening, and they run into each other in the further kind of, and like the dark priestess lady can see her, and so then that presents a more real world threat to Lorraine Warren than we've ever had. That's sort of that's a big source of the narrative tension in the second and third acts. It's silly, but it's like I just loved her, man. She's hamming it the hell up. It adds like an actual human villain to these movies that they've never really had. I loved it. I loved her dark altar and her like underground things. I loved all that stuff. So like on just a cheesy movie level, I could very much appreciate that. I just don't. It just so much of it is so weird. This movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't like. I wasn't that bored. How's that?
It's not that it's boring. Like there's shit happening all the time.
Yeah.
But that's like when I say they've become like action movies, that's like another part of it where it's like there's no moment where they're not trying to like ramp you into the next moment. Like they look like a lot of
well, that's what I mean. These movies started
like a lot
out
of horror movies is like atmosphere and like pacing.
These movies started out as like, and I think it's easy to forget this. They started out as very subtle. What they were basically doing, Insidious started it, Conjuring really nailed it. Like James Wan and like these people working with him, they were really bringing back visual and sound like tropes that made 70s horror films and 80s horror films like The Changeling or something really scary. Like movies in the early 2000s were not using slow zooms until Insidious and The Conjuring. You know what I mean? Like they were really just employing old school horror techniques and bringing them back and doing them incredibly well. Like you look at that face clapping scene, that works because it's like high level understanding of the mechanics of scary movies basically. But now, like you said, it's just everything's cranked to 11 and you're losing the subtlety. Yeah. But maybe you have to when you make 8 of these things. That's the other thing. Like if you're not gonna rest it, you got to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I think that for me, the Sinister series works. Like I really enjoy all 3. Well, I guess there's 4 now, aren't there? I like all of the Sinister movies, and I think that they do what you're talking about a lot better than The Conjuring, the whole situation. Like The Conjuring for me, like if you're going to, I mean, there, like I get the throwback and trying to focus on, you know, the atmosphere and the slow zoom and like these like, you know, not jump scares, but this like atmospheric scare. Like it's just.
Well, and it's not even really like kind of what I'm saying is that's not even what it is anymore because it's more into this other thing.
Yeah. Sure. Well, and you could, I don't know, I liked, like I said earlier, I liked how they moved away from some of their tropes in this, but then it feels like with the stuff with the Warrens and their love story, we've had 2 movies with the Warrens. We knew they were in love. It was never in question. So why do we have to cover their love story?
Well, that's part of it is like there's too much plot. Like when I say that they're like jumping, like there's like they're constantly like ramping you into the next moment. It's like they're just trying to cram too much plot. Like the whole Warren love story thing, I guess like they probably felt like they had to do it to make the Ed and Lorraine thing at the end, like the climax makes sense if you hadn't seen the other films. But like, I don't know, like the movies are about them. Like just fucking.
I mean, it's all just like they made a decision that the tension in the third act of this movie would be because there's a physical threat to Lorraine Warren. Right. So then they step back. They're like, okay, how do we make it feel bigger? Okay, we're going to pump up this love story. It's so sweet. She has his heart pills for her, you know, like it's that's my issue.
When that happened, I was like, come on.
That's my issue. And I think that people listen, God, John, this is just one of those things where like, I feel like I'm speaking another language sometimes because you're not on Twitter. There's just like, there is a discourse on film Twitter, especially recently, and like horror Twitter, that it's like, it's almost becoming not okay to say when movies like are not good, because people are like, well, if you don't like it, you should just be nice. It's like, yeah, but like,
No,
I wouldn't.
I am. Well, this is why I'm not on Twitter, because like, fuck off. Like, no,
Yeah,
if a
yeah.
movie's bad, like,
I
just say
agree.
it's
And like,
bad.
if you really start looking at movies critically, then something like this whole, it becomes very transparent when in the third act of a movie, they're like trying to ramp up my, fear for Lorraine Warren, and like, and then they're giving me the slow motion gazebo flashbacks. I'm like, I get it. Like, I have heartstrings, but you're not near that. Like, this is not, it's
Yeah.
not doing it for me.
My concern would be like, what are the next films possibly going to be? Like the Warren films, because like, why use this story at all? Like the fact, so going back to like the main murder story, the fucking guy kills one person, goes to prison for it, sits in prison the entire rest of the movie, is convicted of the crime, but like, so they have to turn that narrative, because I assume that was like a real thing that happened, that the Warrens
The
like
movie
may or may
told
not
me,
have been involved with
the
it.
movie told
They
me
have
it was
to turn-
real, John.
Sorry?
The movie told me it was real.
The movie told us it was. No, but like, then they have to turn that into a movie. Like, why use that? Like, why not come up with a different one?
Imagine this.
Why not
Imagine
just make
this.
something
Listen,
up?
Imagine
Right.
a series. Imagine a series in which Farmiga and Wilson are like modern day normal people, like who laugh about themselves, are very
Yeah.
well fleshed out, and go and get themselves involved in like wholly original possession / ghost stories, and you can go anywhere with it, and you're not tied to this thing. Imagine how good that could be. And like, because
I know,
that's
but
part
don't
of
you
it.
need,
That's
don't
a
you
shame
need the
because
like hardcore religion angle?
it's the shame, though,
kinda-
because
you could
I
do,
like-
you could do the
So-
same movie with them and just don't call them the
But
Warrens. Make them be some older
we don't
Right.
see
evangelical couple.
like we don't see series like this, repeated horror series getting in the box office based around characters of like, they're not old, but like they're in their 40s. He might be in his early 50s or something. But I'm saying like that's kind of cool, and in its own way is kind of a throwback to have just like adults be the leads in horror movies. And that's why to me I get bummed out that I'm just like, I don't know. There's just such a lack of self-awareness to the characters that
You know who should have been the lead in this film? A certain little gentleman named Julian Hilliard, who you may
Oh.
remember from The Haunting of Hill House. He was the little boy,
he is in this
the
movie,
super
right, yeah.
strength little boy who
Yeah.
I mean, I liked a lot of the
Uh,
things going on in the third act, and then it's like, psych, just kidding. And that's like one of my least favorite movie like tropes.
Well, yeah, the whole narrative
So
with the
I think-
main guy is fucking worthless. Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Cece.
I think to basically before I watched this movie, I'm sure y'all kind of at least know of her, but Alexandra West from Faculty of Horror, she did a really good Twitter thread about this, and I mean she writes about films all the time and has a whole chapter about kind of not religiosity, but how films handle this. And she kind of talks about how one of her favorite things about horror is how it subverts like social norms, and horror really kind of challenges our perception of the world around us at the time. And she talks about how like, I mean, she gets a little political about it, but like the Warrens come back to like sell conservative values right now, because we're in a very like progressive time. So like we're getting a throwback not only to the Satanic Panic and like movies from the like 70s and 80s, but you have them come back, and I think that we have to have this older couple, like Casey said, whether or not it's the Warrens or not, like you could have handled it in a way that like doesn't expressly focus on their like hopelessness or their like hopeless romantic tendencies, and how they're determined to save everybody through their own love and faith, which is the only way that they can be saved in these movies. Like it's not, I don't know, like if you have a chance, well, I can send it because I know John's not on Twitter, since we keep telling John he's not on Twitter. But,
Honestly,
I mean,
John,
she does
it
a
sounds
really
wonderful.
Good, like rundown about it.
Yeah. No, well, it
And
makes total
how-
sense, right? Like that's what so much
Yeah.
of horror is about. Like we've talked about, like the genre, like concept of the threat to sort of like society or whatever, set to like the dominant norms of society, and then those need to be like reestablished at the end. And it's actually, I had been thinking about like the fact that they're Christian is like a pretty important part of like what is this movie trying to say? But like it is interesting. Like it is a true throwback, and we've talked a lot about like it's so cornball how like it
Yes.
feels so like out of touch with modern society. But clearly, if these films are popular, which I don't know how well this movie is actually doing, and we probably
Right.
won't know because it's on HBO at the same time. It's like in the studios.
Wait, it is?
Or in the. So it's
Yeah.
in.
I watched it
Yeah.
on HBO.
Oh, I went to the theater.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, I would have anyway because
Oh.
I wanted to, but I didn't know that. Yeah, I went to a theater.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
on. It was like a. But my point being or not my point. Like I'm agreeing with Cece. Like the concept that like a movie could be quote unquote this popular when it's like basically about. I looked it up. They're both 47, Eric.
Oh, that was
You know
close.
the relationship of 47-year-old like super Christian.
Well, and they're
like,
aging them up in this movie
demon
in
fight.
particular too.
Huh?
They're aging them up in this movie. It felt
Yeah.
like.
Well, and this movie's also like super duper white, by the way. Like
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
as white a movie as you're gonna find.
So white.
Yeah.
There is that one cop. There's the one cop as a black dude. And the guy's like, he puts down 3 things, and he's like, "Okay, if you're psychic, pick the one that blah blah blah." And I'm like
Oh,
screaming at the
God.
screen, like, "There's 3 things. I could probably do this." Like,
Well, that was that.
and it becomes a joke, but still, that was his way of like, I don't know.
That, and then did you notice like they had that like moment with that cop where he's like kneeling by the grave at the end? Like they tried to like make that cop a character, which was so absurd.
Yeah,
I
who
s-
is that supposed to be?
It was ridiculous. That was nonsense.
I like too
So-
the priest that was tagging along, because then like he's just still kind of around after they like
Yeah.
after they have need for him, and it's just kind
Well,
of like,
and hold on. Do they have like
that's
a
cool, guys. I
side-
don't,
like,
I
there's,
don't,
like,
I don't
an
have
Asian
anything to do.
sidekick?
I
Yeah, he's the cameraman.
I had absolutely no idea who that guy was when he
Is
showed
he
up.
in the other movies?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
He's not given lines. Like he's literally like there's like a young Asian man who's
And
like
they make
standing around.
and they make
while
no
they're-
reference
He
to
says Ed a couple times.
they make no reference to bringing him in or who he is. He's just there in a scene all of a sudden.
Yeah. It's so weird.
But it's like that. Those are those like Avenger-y moments where it's like,
Well, but that's
team
also where
assemble.
it's like the movie's so white, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna have like the Asian sidekick who doesn't get lines but gets to stand over here. Like, I don't know. It's yeah.
I would guess the real life Warren's life might have been like that if I had to.
I mean, it's probably true. You're right. That was probably factually accurate.
It's just based on a true story. That's all.
well, no, and their sidekick was not a young Asian man. It was you know,
I was going to say it was what's her name? Piper?
It was
Yeah,
it was the chicken.
Pep Penny.
So this is John's. I bring
Yeah,
this up
kidding.
every time one of these movies comes up, but there's a documentary. I think it's called Miamityville or something, and it's about the youngest kid in the Lutz family who was like very young when all that stuff went down. It's his position basically is that his family was basically exploited, and like he also it's very depressing, but it's very fascinating. And I think that was the documentary that has the stock footage of them like black and white grainy with just a chicken hanging out in their kitchen.
It's funny talking about the lack of development for some of these characters like that cop and stuff and the camera guy. But they did actually do a good job, I thought, building out that character of the evil priestess lady. Because when they got there to the farm and ran into Walter from Fringe back in the day, and he had this whole little story about how they moved there to protect this stuff, and it was just him and his daughter, and he raised her there, and for years, and she went over to the dark side because she became obsessed with it. I'd watch that movie. That'd be a good spinoff. It'd be better than this movie.
I felt like he was super underused. That actor, the Fringe guy, what's his name? John Noble.
Dude, I was shook by how old he looked.
He
Oh,
did.
yeah.
He did look.
Man,
yeah, he looked
I had
pretty
no
old.
idea he was that old. Like, because the last time I saw him probably was Fringe, which was like 20 years ago almost.
Yeah, he's got to be pushing 80 at least.
Or no, maybe Fringe was like 15. Fringe was around the time we started the show, actually.
I
Yeah.
cannot even find the camera guy in IMDb. It's driving me crazy. I don't know. We'll have to- He doesn't get a credit. He's just like, yeah, we just found some guy. He's in the movie too. Whatever.
I just want to see somebody make a really funny supercut of Lorraine Warren running through the forest.
Yeah.
There's
I'm
some.
sorry, but her stabbing, like her
Oh
phantom
yes.
stabbing,
You're
I was
like,
like, I mean, I will say, Vera embodied an old woman stabbing somebody.
Yes,
'cause
she
I was like,
did.
I can
No,
really
she
see,
goes
like,
for it.
present day Lorraine doing that.
She goes for it. I also like that Patrick Wilson stops her, and I'm just like, she's just stabbed in the air, dude. You can let her go. You can let her
yeah,
finish.
yeah, just let her wear herself
Let
out
this
there.
play itself out.
My
Yeah.
favorite Lorraine line though was early on when they found the stain in the floor and they're standing outside the crawl space, and Patrick Wilson's like, "Oh, I wish I wasn't so on my cane and stuff. I need to go there with you." And she's like, "Hold my purse."
Yeah, he's like, oh, you'll mess up your dress. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. She's like, "Whatever, hold my purse."
The moment in this movie that made me laugh the most, actually, and this is like a Conjuring universe thing, the picture of the nun, like the one that's like hanging in their house.
Yeah.
That is the most absurd fucking painting I've ever seen.
Yeah, because it was the creepy nun, wasn't it?
Every time I see it, I'm just like, what is it? Like someone thought this was like a real painting? Like,
Well, it's like Annabelle, and the Annabelle
Well,
doll could
exactly.
not look stupider. Like it's
I
I get that they couldn't use a Raggedy Ann doll, but like you could make a very minimalist thing that's similar to
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
terrifying.
No.
Not this like
I love Annabelle.
ridiculous.
I'm in on that because it's so absurd looking.
It's so
and
dumb.
like in the movie when kids are like, "Oh, I want to play with the Annabelle doll," it's like,
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No kid's gonna look at that doll and be like, "Sweet."
yeah, get this demon doll away from me.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Oh God. The
Yes.
Nun.
Subtle,
That was a movie.
Subtlety. I don't remember anything about the nun whatsoever.
I remember that painting basically.
Yeah, I don't know that I saw that one, to be honest.
I just remember.
Honestly, I remember tunnels and crosses.
I remember.
There's a connection there.
I remember Insidious 3 being hilarious. That's about it.
I think I've seen all of the Conjuring universe films now. I'm a completist. So
No, wait.
the only one we didn't cover on the show,
Oh, that's
I think, is
Rose Byrne is
Annabelle
Insidious.
Comes
That's
Home.
right.
Yeah.
I'm
That was
sure.
the third one, right?
I'm sure that's the one, John, that really nails it.
Second.
All
I
right,
think it's the
guys.
second
No, the second one that was I remember we saw the second one because they had that scene with the hospital bed down in the basement as the lights were flickering.
Oh, you're right. It's the origin story, right?
Yeah.
Would you recommend this, Cece?
No.
John?
No.
Casey?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a dumb internet critic, John. What do I know? But if you love all these movies, you'll probably like this one too. But I wouldn't recommend it to just people wanting to know.
There's just so many movies. Like, just watch a different movie.
There's no dearth of
It's like,
content.
there's better movies about exorcisms and being possessed and people killing people pretending or not pretending to be possessed. So
Our dear friend Caitlin covered The Last Exorcism. On
Yeah.
Plug It Up
Yeah.
recently.
Fantastic.
That's what I was gonna say. Watch that one.
You know
It's
what I
better.
watched today, John? Wolf of Wall Street. That's a better movie than this.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, still possessed by a demon, but
Yeah,
you know,
just
different kind.
kind.
Called capitalism.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Welcome to a brand new nightmare.
Great to be back in business.
The final nightmare.
It's your mind will go for it.
I won't tell.
This is my favorite.
It's gotta be me and him. We're gonna have to hit it with everything we've got.
Cool. Freddy's Dead. The final nightmare. They saved the best for last. Rated R. Starts Friday, September 13th at a theater near you.
Hey, I'm Lisa Zane from Nightmare on Elm Street, and you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. CC, thank you for posting this link in the chat to this thread. I'm reading this thread here by Alexandra West. I can already tell it is a much more eloquent take on my feelings in the Warrens than I could muster. I recommend people check out @ScareAlex. You can check out Alexandra's explanation of why the Warrens are poopy. And there you are. info@bloodygoodhorror.com. John, there are no emails this week. I will take some time here to promote a couple things. First up, as you mentioned, Plug It Up. BGH presents Plug It Up, has been killing it lately. Their latest episode on Audrey Rose, John, doing big numbers, John.
It's having a nice little week.
That's right. Check that out. As Cece said, Cece, your episode on The Witch is up there. People can check out. Also, the last Exorcism episode. There's a bunch of really interesting movies covered and guests. Plug It Up Pod on social stuff, and just search Plug It Up in your podcast apps. And believe me, you will not miss the cover art. You'll see it if you search that, John. You will see it. Quick shout out here, John. There's been all this creativity lately coming out of the BGH community. It's very exciting. There's a new podcast on the way called Dads from the Crypt. Can you guess what this is about, John?
I know what it's about.
It's three dads, Jason, Mondo, and Jody, BGH fans, slackers, patrons, and they're going to watch Tales from the Crypt episodes. And John, I produced the theme for their show, the music for them. They have not released an episode yet, but you can search Twitter for @CryptDads, which kind of sounds like a sex thing now that I look at it that way, but like spooky.
That could be good though. That's like a positive in marketing.
Like, what's your sexual orientation? I'm a crypt dad.
Yeah, crypt dad.
But yeah, @CryptDad. @CryptDads on Twitter. Check them out. You can hear the show soon and my music on that show. My music, John, of course, under Hi-Fi, HY-FY. I have 2 new EPs out. It's all on Spotify now. So you can go listen to it, John. You've held out this long. It might be time.
I have listened. I follow you on Spotify.
Love it.
I follow Hi-Fi. Excuse me.
Yes.
I know you go by your professional name.
That's right. My professional. I will grab here Instagram questions. Does anybody else have Twitter open?
I've got the tweets up.
All right, why don't you go for it, buddy?
All right, our first one coming up here. Always use the Ask BGH hashtag. Send in questions. We're happy to answer. First one here is from Definitely Not Alex Jones @AlexJones. Is John moonlighting on a true crime podcast? I definitely heard his name with the producer credit at the end of the last episode of a new true crime show. I won't name it so they don't get a free plug and potentially put more money in John Monopoly Man Schnarz's pockets.
I mean, I've never heard of another Schnarz in the last, how long have I known you, John? Almost 15 years. And believe me, I'm always on the lookout.
Well, no, I assume it was one of the podcasts for the company I work for.
Oh, you get a credit?
I get a special thanks credit.
Wow.
I get a special.
Wow, how did I not know this?
Yeah, when you look, Eric, when you do the deals, when you're the deal guy, you gotta throw some love, you know.
Do you do the man bun? Do you do the man bun for when you're trying to cut deals? Is that like a power move?
No, I let it flow, man.
Yeah, that's the power move.
Yeah, strong flow.
You're peacocking it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I read about that in a business book. That makes sense.
That's how I describe it.
All right. Next up from Elijah Woody Harrelson. What did you do? Or no, I'm sorry. Let me start that over. What did you or do you miss the most about going to the movie theater? For me, it was the crippling anxiety of having to pee during the movie. Just kidding. It was eating Sour Patch Kids like a monster in public.
Oh, we've had this discussion. I proactively regulate my fluid intake all day before I go to see a movie. So it's usually not a problem. And I usually see them in the morning, so it's not that hard. But.
I don't have to think about it that much yet. I don't know. Maybe
John, I think a lot about my I think a lot about my inputs and outputs, John. I guess that's a way to say it.
Yeah, it's nice to not have to worry about peeing, but I miss everything else.
Yeah. I love just being like, enveloped in the movie. Like the size of the screen. I mean, it sounds silly, but that's like what it is.
It was not. I mean, it was even though I was seeing this movie, it was super nice to get back into like a legit theater. I will say that I miss like I live in a different place now, and I was in a completely different place when I saw the movie, but I think I'm completely spoiled by the Regal leather chairs. Like I need to find that, or I can't. Like I went to that indie theater down the road, and it's like auditorium style wooden seats, and I'm like, what is it, $18.99? Like
it is. I always feel that way when it's like, oh yeah, this is such like a cool throwback theater. It's like, yeah, you mean you got
dude,
city?
I was so much pain by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Liz at Maud Amsterdam writes, I think we can all agree that the Conjuring 3's subtitle, The Devil Made Me Do It, should have gone back into the writing desk Hellfire Whence It Came.
Yes.
What's a better subtitle for this movie?
Oh God.
Ed Loves Lorraine.
Yeah, I mean, like we need it. This is the kind of thing we need prep for.
Yeah. Love and exorcism.
Gazebos.
Gazebos.
We've got two here from the Grim Reviewer. The first question, he says, who on the podcast is most likely to go around cursing people? And we already know it's already Cece.
Oh, yes.
They said that, or that's your.
No, that was my input.
Oh, yeah. Could be Joe, actually. I mean.
No, that's cursing at people, not cursing them.
More like a warlock situation, I guess. I don't know.
And then the Grim Reviewer follows that up with, did anyone else think that Arn from The Conjuring was played by Bill Skarsgård at first? No. He's a little bit Skarsgårdian profile.
There's like a weird, like he looks kind of familiar look to him, but I don't know. I did not care for that actor, really.
He's all right.
Yeah.
Nah, he was passable.
All right.
Old friend of the show, Robale, writes in, if a deli named a sandwich after you, what would be in it?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a good question, but
turkey.
Man.
This is very important. Mayo on both sides of the bread, like liberal mayo on both sides of the bread. Lettuce.
On the outside?
No, Casey. On the top and the bottom on the inside of the sandwich.
Okay.
All sides, mayo.
Yeah. Lettuce, tomato, pickles, and cheddar cheese.
So my standard bodega deli order is pepper turkey.
Okay.
It's important.
Got it.
On a roll, spicy mustard, lettuce, tomato, cheddar cheese. That could be that's the schnars.
No mayo.
No, I go spicy mustard with the pepper turkey. It's like a nice,
Yeah.
I'm really basic. I just like either ham or turkey and spicy mustard, cheese, and a little bit of lettuce.
I'd have some pastrami and roast beef. Wheat's always the go-to for me too.
I keep like backup jars of mayo in my house just to be safe in case I run out of mayo.
I like mayo. I'm just saying that on that specific sandwich, I go spicy mustard.
There's no sandwich I don't have mayo on. None.
See, mine would have some pastrami mixed with some roast beef, and then you'd have to go with the horseradish mayo.
Yeah, horseradish.
Yeah.
See, all these things you guys are talking about. All these things you guys are talking about, though, even better with also mayo, like spicy mustard mayo.
Now you're talking. Now I'm in business.
Yeah, it's got some bite.
Yeah. Chipotle mayo. Love a chipotle mayo.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Long-time listener, long-time Twitterer, Renee asks, what was the first movie you ever saw in the theater? Mine was Fern Gully. And that was Renee's Fern Gully comment, not mine.
I don't actually know, but I theorize that it was the original Ninja Turtles live-action movie, so it would have been 1990. I would have been like 8. But it's possible that I just did something early that I don't remember. What year did Waterworld came out? Because I saw that at the drive. That would have been... Ninja Turtles was 90, so Waterworld was after that.
There was a similar question because I remember I looked it up. There was a re-release of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs that I saw in the theater when I think I was like 4 or 5.
Family just trying to bore the living crap out of you?
It was my grandmother, and that was like a movie she loved because she's a grandmother, and boring movies are like.
I remember we had this babysitter sometimes that would babysit for her kids. She was like, to us, she was like 120. And I remember her trying to make us watch The Sound of Music one time, and it was just like, we're not gonna do this.
Sound of Music is super long too.
Yeah.
It was a two VHS.
Why are you
situation.
doing this to me?
Yeah.
I honestly don't remember for sure, but my mom swears she took me to the theater to see Star Wars, so I would have been like 3.
Yeah, I have no idea what the first one I saw was.
The only thing, the one that jumps out in my head right now, and I know it wasn't the first, was Temple of Doom.
What was that, 84?
Yeah. I just know I saw that one in the theater. Here's the moment tonight in our tweets that Schnars has been waiting for from Hoagie Lover at CO_W Flanagan. Yo, all through this movie, I was getting hot AF watching Patrick Whitebread and Vera Fargina, only to see the homely real Warrens during the credits and have my little guy turtle up. Who should really play them?
I mean, you want to talk about... Goggins. Dude, listen.
No, I love some Walton Goggins.
Listen, you want to talk about generous casting? Let's talk about Patrick Wilson as Ed Warren.
Next level outrageous. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, that's actually the Danny McBride Walter guy. We've been watching Gemstones, and
oh yeah,
they're so good.
Danny McBride in like a sweaty
baby Billy.
Danny McBride in like a sweaty 70s like terry cloth polo shirt.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Walton Goggins, though, you guys saw him, or did you all see him on Sons of Anarchy? He could probably pull off Lorraine.
Dude, as Venus, I love Walton Goggins. He's so good.
Cece, he's in one of the pods that we did for work. Deep Cover. You got to check it out. He's he voices. Yeah.
Is that what the kids are? Is that what the
Did
kids
you meet him?
John, is that what the kids are calling them? Pods?
Pods, yeah. I did not meet him, Casey, but I did get to speak to his manager, who was
not quite the same.
I wonder if he had a man bone too.
All righty, last up for tonight from Erie, Arizona. Apparently UFOs are real now. What's your theory on who or what is piloting them?
Oh, I have a total theory.
I haven't read that much about this, but isn't the most obvious thing that, because they said they're not UFOs, right? But like, why are we not assuming they're not like drones that like fucking China or Russia are just like
because I
flying
think that they've been able to determine that like there is no known technology that could do what these things are doing. And they are still classified them as UFOs.
Yeah. But
UFO meaning UFO
that they're not extraterrestrial. Basically.
Well, the government's always going to say that, John.
All right.
For the sake of this argument, okay, let's say it is. Let's say it is extraterrestrial. Okay.
That's bad for us. Like we're all fucked.
But here's my theory. Here's my theory, and why I think I find interesting. Considering how our own technology has gone, right? Everything is going towards like AI, pilotless, whatever. Like in the 50s, right? When you thought you were seeing, people thought they were seeing aliens. They couldn't have known that because that's not where our technology was. But like, why would you ever assume that a craft sent here from another planet had any living being in it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it absolutely be some kind of like unmanned probe that was just controlled by AI? So it's just funny though. Yeah. It's funny though to contextualize it by people who lived in the 50s who couldn't have really thought that, because that wouldn't have even made sense. And so to them, a UFO just had little green guys. And I don't know. It's just kind of interesting. It would definitely be a drone, like an unmanned drone.
Yeah.
They're not just little green men. I saw the autopsy video when it aired the first time.
Sorry, they're grays.
Have you all read this book or heard of this book, The 3-Body Problem? It's like there's a trilogy.
No,
that's a good book.
Yeah, I've only read the first one, but it actually, Eric, like hits on exactly what you're talking about, and it's like it's like very specific about the alien race that exists in that. Well, it's a spoiler. I shouldn't get into it.
It's fiction.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it's got a lot of real world based science and physics to it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. It's like it's like there's
cool.
a lot of hard sci-fi type stuff going on, but
I like hard sci-fi, John.
I know. It's got to be hard for you.
I mean, you know how I'm living.
Came back just in time.
Welcome back, Cece. Is that it, Casey, for Twitter?
That is it.
I love it. I pulled up. Joe's not here. I pulled up Instagram. We're gonna do a little different this week. I'm gonna say these people's handles here, John. Joe's usually going anonymous. And guess what? If you ask some Real Housewives question, sorry, bro, not your week.
We don't know.
We don't care or no. Number one, Dig Doog says of any. I'm sorry. Before that, our friend who doesn't use the form would like to know, what did the devil make you do?
I said a lot of different stuff, actually.
I've definitely had some mornings where I woke up and thought whatever happened last night with the devil was involved.
Jesus.
I don't know. The devil made me order that extra order of fries.
I did when I think I talked about it, I'm sure I talked about it on the show at the time, but when I had shingles about 8 or 9 years ago, like I remember saying to everyone who would listen to me, like, if this happened before science, you would think you had been smited by God. Like, it made me think of like paintings where people are in hell and they're being stabbed by like pitchforks. Like, that's what it made me think of. Shingles, no fun. Dig Duke, of any person who's ever been alive, who would you least like to be trapped in an elevator with?
Easy.
Who's ever been alive?
Yeah,
I mean,
45.
Ed Warren would probably be like pretty high on the list now.
Who's that? That conservative child man who's like an incel with a really high, like Kermit the Frog voice? Charlie Kirk.
I don't know who that is. I mean, I would say like Ted Cruz would be like pretty high on my list.
Yeah.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or
I'll go
I feel
straight.
like there's probably a lot of people I don't want to be in an elevator with.
The list is long, I think.
Yeah.
oh my God, for sure.
Jaded lyrics. Why is Joe so sexy? Come on.
That's a plan. That's like Joe
that's
has like
Joe's handle.
yeah, Joe has a burner account, I guess.
Prisoner 007. What film that you saw in 2020 do you wish was delayed to 2021 to see in theaters? Easy. Godzilla versus Kong.
Yeah.
I would have.
I mean, that did come out in 2021, technically. But
Well, you know what I mean. I wish it would have came out after I was vaccinated. How's that?
Yeah, it's still close enough to push it.
yeah, I don't know. I didn't see much. I don't know. There wasn't like there wasn't many things where I was like, oh, I just wish, but yeah.
Book of Faces. How do I prevent swamp ass this summer? That's a good question. I actually
You don't.
You don't. I think the real
Yeah.
answer is that you embrace it and accept it. Like,
Well, I was gonna say you find the outfits that make it work, like that are like it's survivable. Like, don't wear clothes where it's like super obvious, like.
well, it's tough, John. The balance between like, I need enough layers so you can't totally see it, but this just gonna make me hotter.
No, but there's like you get the right colors.
Yeah. Everyone's got swamp ass, man. Just accept it. Like, we're all humans. Our butts
Well,
have swamps. Like, that's just
Get
is
like
how it is.
a
Everybody poops.
chair that breathes appropriately, like maybe like a cushion or something. There's got to be things you can do to like kind of. I don't know. Not a scientist, Eric.
So John's just saying wear your moisture wicking running wear to work.
Yeah.
Moisture. That's such BS. Moisture wicking. Scam. Has there ever been a time when special effects are better than practical? When is off-screen better? I think actually, I mean, to continue a thread here, like, you could not do those Godzilla versus Kong movies the same way without CG. Like, you could not make them as epic as they are.
Yeah. You wouldn't.
Well,
Yeah,
they
you-
did make them that way, like in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, and they're silly. Well, that's my
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
It's just not the same.
No, I mean the effects are getting so good now that it's like, it is kind of like it's less of a debate. Like
Yeah,
the
we're at-
CG is really good.
We're out of that awkward 90s era where they were just figuring it out. So stuff's actually looking pretty legit for a good chunk of them. Of course, your sci-fi originals fail at that.
Eric, I'll tell you, Joe is usually much snappier at this.
Well, I'm reading, John. Someone more cultured than me will have to answer this. Gaspar, no movies, yes or no way? Did he didn't direct?
I mean, did
Yeah, he did
directed that
Climax.
movie
Oh, then
that
yes.
you like? Yeah.
Then yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was going to say yes for sure.
Look at you. You are cultured.
That's right, Cece. Thank you.
See, look at you.
I mean, they're like challenging films, but
Any good horror TV series you'd recommend? I'm looking forward to Evil season 2 on Paramount Plus.
Has anyone watched Them on Amazon?
No.
Because that trailer was pretty good. I remember Eric got really excited about it, and I was like, "Hey, bro, that's a TV show, not a movie." And
That made me angry. I don't have time for TV shows. I recommend, John, Tales from the Dark Side from the 1980s syndicated anthology program.
I've seen it. I've seen many of them. I don't know if I certainly haven't seen them all, but that and Monsters, we used to watch those.
Monsters, and if you have not seen Tales from the Crypt, that show super holds up.
Yeah,
and
hey, watch it with our buddies.
Right, but
Joey
somehow,
Mondo,
for some reason, they're not
Jason.
on HBO, which is ridiculous. They're not on HBO Max.
Yeah, I don't understand.
But
that.
what
It
I
must be
will
a rights thing.
pro tip: a lot of them are on YouTube and have not been pulled down, like in HD. So I would Google that.
I was wondering about that, like why a lot of that old HBO stuff, like from back in the day, is not.
It's
on
very
YouTube.
interesting. It makes me wonder because I would be all over that if those were up there. Can I borrow your shoes, Jeff Hawkins? I don't think they'd fit you, sir. I'm sorry. Paul, what's your favorite horror-related chocolate / candy bar? What horror-related? All right, I'm getting,
give me one.
I'm
example
getting rid
all.
of that part. What's your favorite chocolate bar, John?
Snickers.
Yeah, that's a strong contender. Cece,
Snickers or Butterfingers.
Casey, Butterfingers.
I'll go with the peanut butter cup.
I'm gonna swerve here. It's whatchamacallit.
Oh, that's a good one
I would
too.
stab a man for a good whatchamacallit. Also, Reese's Fast Break.
The Fast Break is quite good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Real good.
that's pretty much your peanut butter cup with some salt in it, right?
Yeah, it's just different. It's just like a different shape, but I don't know. It's real good. My dog's coughing. It's pretty cool. What is the best movie universe? Dare I say it's the Conjureverse? That's from Merle.
No, you
Nope.
dare not.
I don't think
You
you're
dare
correct. sir.
Sorry,
You dare not,
Don't-
sir.
don't agree.
I think it might be the Kong Skull Island universe, whatever the Kong Godzilla universe. Because I mean, I don't know. The Marvel stuff is fine. I'm fine with it.
The Marvel stuff, the way that they have planned this out in all these phases, and they've got this crap planned out for decades. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
No, totally. And like WandaVision was excellent. Like
Yeah.
you know, so I
That
haven't
looked
watched
like a
Loki
thing
yet,
I
but
would.
I've
That
heard
looked like a
it's
thing I
good.
would have had to really see all the other things for, and I'm not.
No, WandaVision, you don't need to.
Yeah, they're kind of their own thing. That's what's nice too with that whole Marvel universe and the way they're doing those TV shows is they have found the proper way to do a character origins stories. So we're not watching. We don't have 5 movies telling us how Batman's parents died, so to speak.
Yeah.
How did they die? I do know that.
Depends on which Batman.
Yeah.
And that's it for Twitter. John, do we know what we're doing next week?
We got a couple contenders. There's a couple newer things we were just looking at. Let's see, but we can
Let's table it.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it. Well, we're back. Accidentally took a week off last week, John. I forgot to put a classic in the feed, but here
That's
we
okay.
are. It's as you were saying over email. It's probably about to get hot and heavy here with horror releases. So get excited, people. It's happening.
We got Fear Street coming.
Yeah.
Yes.
3 of them.
I'm pretty psyched for those. Those look really good. All right, guys. That's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you next week.
See you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.